Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Reset Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Mignot, CEO of the experience agency D Flash. Each episode, I bring in a different business leader who's doing some game changing work. And I'm so excited to have Stephen Bates and Izzy Kirsh, who are the co founders of Mode, an incredible cannabis company. You know, the cannabis industry has so many levels and different aspects to it. So, what these guys have been able to do is quite phenomenal. And I think it's going to be a fantastic conversation. Take a listen. Hey guys.
Hey Laura, how you doing?
Hi, Laura.
Good. I'm silently jealous of you guys because you're by the beach and I'm in a highs rise.
Yeah.
So even though, we're several months into this crazy thing called the pandemic, the podcast does not change and the first question doesn't change. So you guys can pick, but it's the same question for you both. What was your first job?
My first job, first official under the table job, or non under the table job, was a barbecue restaurant called American Barbecue in Pennsylvania. I started as a dishwasher and then eventually became a sous chef. So not the most exciting start. And eventually later in my life, I got into design for college.
Yeah. And for me, it was, I actually was in business school on the East Coast and met Mark, our third co-founder. And we started our first venture right out of school. So Mark's been a business partner of mine now for over 10 years. And we've built many different tech projects and digital marketing companies over that time. So first job would be with Mark, and did some side projects while in school, but that would be the first job I started.
Awesome. And it's always funny, like the things that you sort of always mention as your first job always, in some way, shape, or form correlate to the things that you do now in terms of things you will do, things you won't do, things you like, things you hate. And I can see that's true with you guys. So why don't you kind of take us through, like, how did you guys get to be where you are right now? What's that journey been like? And Stephen, do you want to go first?
Sure. How can I shorten this? So I have been involved in arts, whether it be painting, drawing, sculpting, since I was a kid. My mom was a fashion designer. She was always pushing us to take additional art classes and be involved in the artistic community. So from an early age, I got into that, then moved to Pennsylvania around the age of 10. And got a completely different life experience from my early years in California and with art. But I was always interested in art throughout high school, and then decided to major in industrial design at Savannah College of Art and Design. And right before, towards the end of my high school years, I got into smoking. I started smoking cigarettes and then quickly moved into e-cigarettes as a seemingly healthier alternative. And I took it on as a hobby, and that kind of led me to where I am now. I gained a lot of experience understanding how e-cigarettes work and understanding addiction. And so I took my design skills, my artistic skills, and my understanding of vaporization devices and applied that to this company.
Yeah.
Awesome. And how about you, Izzy?
Yeah, sure. So for me, I've been as well drawing and creating since I've been a kid. I've always been excited and passionate about design and design thinking, and using that to help society in different ways. That's kind of just how I work, and I'm always in the creative realm, trying to see what a better world looks like, and then how we can make that happen. So as I mentioned, right out of college, I kicked off on our first tech company with the third co-founder, Mark, and have been focused on designing software products as well as hardware products. Prior to Mode and this company, we were in Silicon Valley, and I had built a IoT platform for commercial real estate. And that taught us a lot about hardware and about IoT platforms and how the data that's collected really can create entirely new opportunities for consumers and enhance user experience. So we got pretty excited about that. And then that led, personally, I had an injury and a couple of surgeries. And what I discovered was using cannabis that certain strains were making the pain a lot worse, and certain ones were helping me alleviate it. So as a technology designer and having built this IoT platform in the past, it really got me thinking about how do we create a tool where people can start consuming what they need to get the ideal outcome each time. And that led to the epiphany about using vapor as a form factor and then building this dosing device for the universal cartridge.
Awesome. So yeah, I read up and was fascinated by all of what you guys are doing. So could you give our audience like a little overview of how Mode is different than anything else in the marketplace?
Sure. So on a high level, we're a technology company. So we're focused on wellness products for personalized medicine. And our forte is precision dosing. So what you're seeing mostly on the market is simplified batteries, low-grade batteries especially, that may have some additional features like manual voltage control. Where our device differs from that is that we're focused on precision dosing output from our device, so it adjusts automatically with up to 18 different variables that go into an algorithm. So there are a few other dosing products on the market, but they really only deal with time. So they're a set timer, and that the dosage that comes out of that set time can be 600% off because it's not adjusting over or two different variables, such as with the person, the cartridge, and the environment.
And to add to that, at a platform level, we're really trying to focus on cannabis personalization. So to date, people are still in the experiment on your own phase. And it's very open-ended. What products will work for you, what dosage you should take, when you should take it to achieve the ideal outcome. So we really thought about this as an IoT platform where we can provide this dosing device and mobile app to a consumer and then continuously improve on their experience by learning about what they like and don't like, who they are as an individual, and which products are working for them best. From there, we can get into personalized recommendations where we can tell a new consumer who hasn't tried cannabis before that you should try this strain at this dosage to achieve this outcome. So that's really at a high level where we really are differentiating ourselves. A lot of the brands and products today is very open-ended and just getting started on focusing on dosage. And we're really pushing the limits of what personalized cannabis will look like and what the mainstream cannabis consumer will want.
Yeah, that's the thing that I was so intrigued by. Like, I think there's all this really bad misconceptions around cannabis usage and what it means. But then on the flip side, there's this like boom in terms of products and different things people can now use and take. Where do you guys sit? Like, what do you find as to why you thought it was necessary to sort of take this intelligent design focus on making Mode?
Yeah, sure. So we are where we're seeing the market head to, and where we believe the mainstream, when cannabis will be called a mainstream product. To get there needs to be control and there needs to be education. Those are the two missing pieces that is holding it back from being suitable for the mainstream consumer, whether it's a new person looking at it for medicinal purposes or for recreation and relaxation or for health and wellness. Today, it's still too all over the place. So well, with that in mind, we looked at a different options for consumption, and we got excited about vapor. It's a very discreet delivery mechanism, and it's very efficient. It allows for instant absorption into your bloodstream, and it allows for high bioavailability, so you get almost the full amount of it. And that means instant relief, and you don't have to wait to get the effects. Because of that, vapor is becoming a very widespread form of consumption. People are liking it, they're using it a lot, and the form factor continues to grow as a percentage of the market. So we saw vapor as a great, future-proof delivery mechanism, but we saw there's a missing piece with vapor, which is milligram dosing. Nobody's thinking about it by the milligram, and you really have to, because a 1 second inhale versus a 5 second inhale can mean the difference between getting 2 to 4 milligrams into your system versus getting 30 to 50 milligrams into your system. So the fact that vapor is such a widespread form factor and that there is no way to think about it or consume by the milligram was just obvious to us that there's a big opportunity here to focus on vapor and provide a way for people to start thinking by the milligram and consuming by the milligram.
Yeah, and to add to that, so I've mostly been a recreational user my whole life. I have used cannabis to deal with anxiety, to deal with a number of stressful situations. Yet I've never been able to equate how much I'm using with a number. So it becomes like almost unconscious consumption. So we've realized that there are many consumers that are in that mindset where they continue to consume large amounts. It may have a negative effect on their life. And by creating this product, it brings awareness to their consumption patterns and really it gives them more power over their habits.
And I think that's actually an interesting segue because to my next question, because I think there's been a ton of misconceptions around vaping because of products like Juul and all the things that happened, it causing additional, other lung issues, especially as we're now in the time of COVID and everyone's worried about respiratory illnesses that could be exacerbated if you end up getting COVID. How do you guys differentiate? I know obviously the milligram is a big difference, but in the sea of all the things around vaping, how do you guys hope to sort of differentiate yourselves and stand out from the pack?
Yeah, sure. So the first important aspect is to separate each factor here. So first there's nicotine, which is a separate market, which is providing a substance that is universally acceptable, that not something that you should really be consuming and definitely not be consuming a lot of.
Highly addictive.
And is highly addictive with nicotine.
Right.
That's one industry that we are not related to in any way. From there's cannabis consumption via vapor. As of in last year, or Q4 of last year, there was the vape crisis, where there was a very uninformed. So some people started dying.
68 people died.
68 people died.
2,850 people were injured.
Right. From consuming vapor. So the news got very excited and started, putting out all this information concerning vape and is it healthy or not. Within a few short months, the investigators figured out that it was all black market products and it was directly related to vitamin E acetate, which is a way that these black market providers were diluting their THC oils. It looked the same, but was actually majority vitamin E.
They were cutting their products so that they could make more profits.
Right.
Wow, that's what they were doing?
Yeah, and they weren't testing beforehand to see if
Of course not.
So there's no test results. They're diluting the product with something they haven't even tested.
It's trash and selling it.
The runs and should be, activated and heated. And these people start dying. So since then, it's all come out, and people in the industry and people related to the vapor industry know this as facts. The problem became that there was so much news and excitement around it that it's made the mainstream consumer be more concerned. So there definitely should be concern around black market products. You should not be buying those. They're not doing the test that should be done for something that you're ingesting or inhaling into your system.
Yeah, it's going straight into your lungs, which is arguably the most important part of organ in your body.
Right.
One of them.
And people should not be consuming products that aren't verified and validated to be, to be tested and confirmed healthy for your system. So that was the problem with the vape crisis, and that's created a bit of uncertainty in the general market. But then this, in comparison to that, when you come to the legal cannabis market, each cartridge is tested by a third party. There's full lab results that indicate exactly what the makeup of the concentrate is, what the cannabinoid profile, terpene profile, and anything else that would be in that oil. So it was just a black market problem, and to date, there has been 0 reported deaths or injuries related to consuming clean, healthy vapor cannabis oil from legal cultivators. So what we're trying to do is help first educate the public about the separation of healthy cannabis cartridges in the legal market versus the black market, and a separation from the nicotine market. And then we're trying to also bring in these test results so that consumers can start seeing it in the mobile app. When they buy a cartridge from a dispensary, they would scan or identify the cartridge they bought, and we would be able to pull in the lab results so that they can get that confirmation that they're consuming something that's healthy for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool, but also so necessary. And thank you for giving that history. I think, everything just sort of gets lumped together. Like vaping is bad, and it's all vaping, and it's, yes, nicotine and cannabis oil, and everything moves so fast right now that I think oftentimes it just gets all jumbled together, and folks don't get a chance to extrapolate actually, isolated cases, and by the way, we're doing things the right way and not doing things on the black market. So we're not about that. We're not about that universe. And so I think it's so important to kind of give that right clarity, because there's so much misinformation, especially within the cannabis industry.
Yeah.
As we speak.
Even with the cart, with a lot of the basic devices and the cartridges that you're seeing, even pods, people are still consuming them at alarming rates, right? Because they have no awareness around how much they're consuming. So of course, when you're using if you have too much sugar or too much salt, you see adverse health effects, right? Like that you start to feel that in your body, and it equates to illness and disease. I think with anything, nicotine and cannabis, you're going to see those kind of reactions when overusing.
And are you guys working with any particular farms to grow the cannabis and then extract the oil, or are you working with best-in-class farms across the spectrum?
Yeah, so we are.
We're actually a technology company, so we make the device, and that provides the experience for consumers. The choice on cartridge is up to the consumer, and of course we guide them to make the healthier choice, to pick solid, high quality tested brands. But we actually do not touch the flower ourselves.
Right.
And to add to that, we focused on the 510 cartridge, which is universally available and would be in most dispensaries across the U.S. So we are going for the 75% of the market here with the universal 510 cartridge, and adding the best brands onto our platform. So it's very easy for brands to join the platform, and then once they're on there, consumers are able to identify the cartridge and get the test results and confirm it's the health of the cartridge through the app. So we want to be broad and work nationally, but at the same time we're vetting these brands to make sure they are best in class.
Which is so important because there's so much jibber jabber in the industry. So, Mark, you guys, what made you guys think that, this is the time to get into a cannabis business in the middle of a pandemic? What's that road been like for you?
Yeah, so it hasn't really, it started before the pandemic. So we've been at this for over 2 years now, getting to 3 years. And we're getting towards mass production now and launching the product. So this has been going on before the pandemic. Like I mentioned, it was my injury that initially led me to this idea of dosing vapor by the milligram. And then, of course, we came together as co-founders and started working out how this is going to happen. So that has been just a personal experience leading to the realization of a real need and jumping on it. Obviously, in the backdrop, the cannabis industry has been growing for a good number of years, and it's projected to continuously grow at a very rapid pace. So as entrepreneurs, we're excited about the opportunity, and we're also excited about the value of what our kind of platform can bring to the mainstream cannabis consumer.
Yeah, and with the pandemic, with sales, just as many people, if not more people, are consuming cannabis. Right.
Of course.
Right. Everyone is stressed out. They have more time at home. They're around family more often. So cannabis has become a nice natural segue for them to dealing with some of their stresses. But then again, it comes back to them maybe over consuming during this time, which can be intense on the piggy bank and also the mind. And we see this as being a crucial product to providing some stability for these people using cannabis for the first time, and then those who've been using it for a while.
Yeah, and to just add one last piece on that, well, the opportunity that the pandemic has created for us is we were really focused on the retail distribution element and being in all the dispensaries at launch. Mm-hmm. And given the pandemic, that's not the most exciting for us anymore. We are now focusing as much effort on direct-to-consumer delivery. Given that we are just a technology, software, and hardware company, we're able to ship our units anywhere in the U.S. So we're focusing a lot more of our efforts on our direct-to-consumer approach, and we'll be launching a pre-order campaign for the holidays.
I think you're going to sell out just because, I think it's, there's been a million and one articles about how cannabis has been spiking during this time of the pandemic, and, the need for it with regard to, everyone's level of anxiety has gone through the roof, and and also providing a solution that, as you guys said, is technology. So you can go wherever it needs to go, and it's about, best in class cartridges that can be used with your product to help people navigate this really pretty tough time. And looking back on what you guys have done so far, what would you sort of tell your 21-year-old selves now, seeing how many things you've been able to accomplish and build?
Ooh. For me, it would be to get organized, write everything down. It creates smaller habits to constantly be present, because it's easy to get caught up and overwhelmed with the sheer number of things that pop up as a startup co-founder. So yeah, that would be my main advice.
And for me, if to my 21-year-old self, I think the differentiation between a hardware startup and a software startup, that clarity would have been useful, prior to jumping into numerous IoT platforms and hardware projects. So there's a lot on the hardware side that just requires extensive capital, massive teams of different skilled engineers, and the manufacturing of all that it's quite a complex undertaking compared to software in certain regards. So that's definitely an interesting one for us. And for us, it really comes down to building the right teams and, being very picky with the type of people you have join that team, especially in the early startup phases, and making sure they're top of the line and are excited about what we're building together. So that, because people who are positive and passionate and excited about the opportunity, just end up delivering so much more over the years on the team. So that's a big one that we've learned the hard way about choosing the right team members so that you can execute effectively while everybody stays happy and motivated.
Yeah. But I'd like to add one more as well.
Go for it.
Make quick decisions and spend less time being perfectionistic about every aspect of the product. Because as long as the experience is great and it serves a real purpose, people will love it. So dragging our feet over every minute detail lengthens the timeline for the people that really need the product most, and that's the customers.
Absolutely. That's don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Because you just gotta sometimes go for it, and you're gonna iterate anyway, so you'll find it. But just get out there.
Yeah, exactly.
And speaking about teams, like how are you guys sort of motivating and keeping the team going during this really wacky and unusual circumstances that we're all stuck in? I know you guys are in California, so at least you guys have got beach. But like, how has that been for you guys as co-founders? So making sure the team had what they needed and felt okay during this time.
Yeah, sure. So we've worked remotely for a number of years on previous companies and a lot of it on this one as well. So as far as the remote setup, everyone was quite comfortable from the get-go, working from home and checking in on video calls and being able to keep things moving forward, even though there was the pandemic breakout. Alongside of that, it's really about the excitement of the product. I think that's what keeps driving all of us to put in our all, even though the external reality is very interesting to say the least, and obviously a bit stressful for some. We know the cannabis industry is continuously to grow at a rapid pace. We know the vapor cartridges are selling in massive numbers. They sell over 100 million a year. And we know from personal usage and our own, use of the device, how much value we're creating for the consumer. So we're just excited about what we're able to bring to market, and that really, I know it gets me up every day, and I know it gets all the team members up every day to work on it.
Yeah, it's certainly been challenging, and like Izzy said, we were used to having a mostly nomadic Zoom or Google Meet style lifestyle. Mm-hmm. But it's been interesting for us because we have had to change a lot of our habits, and it's Izzy and I actually have an office in Venice where we're in close quarters, and we've been kind of stuck in the same space for long periods of time, and that has been challenging, but we continue to talk about it and work through it. So really it's come down to solid communication, and then understanding that communication has to evolve to make situations better.
Yeah, I think communication is just key for all of this, and letting folks know what they need, and also just for you as founders, I know it's wild and crazy, and so it's a kudos to you guys. You're plowing through and making it happen in the middle of a pandemic. And for you guys, like, what do you guys do for your self-care to sort of navigate this stuff for yourselves personally? Because that's something that I think oftentimes gets put to the wayside, and especially when you're hard charging, building a startup. But for you guys, have you sort of navigated some ways to sort of find your self-care?
Yeah, so I've started a number of new habits over the last couple of months, and I've found great power in getting up early, not sitting in bed and wallowing over thoughts, or just actually hopping out of bed, drinking a glass of water, avoiding my phone for a little while.
Yes.
Huge one, because it's like allowing myself to wake up slowly and get with it instead of just rushing right into the day. I journal every morning, and then I do either a meditation, yoga, meditation or yoga, and then I go for a bicycle ride for about 20 or 30 minutes every morning. And those patterns really have helped me approach the rest of my day with more confidence and higher energy levels.
Yeah, that's great. For myself, like I mentioned, I had this injury with my initially my foot and became my whole body. And the pandemic was actually this opportunity for me to really hone in and focus on my healing and taking control of my health. So I remember right in the beginning in April, I just right away saw this as an opportunity for myself where there was a lot less travel and running around meeting people, etc. And there was, I didn't know how long it was going to last, but I right away knew that I can use this time to really heal myself and take control of my well-being. So that's what I've really focused on. And since then, I've fully been able to heal my injuries, and I'm able to run, which is something I haven't been able to do because of the injuries. So I've really started doing a lot of different health and wellness related activities, from running on a daily basis, swimming in the ocean a lot, and overall setting a schedule for health inside of my day-to-day startup hustle. And to add to that, I will say that getting up early, I keep pushing it, trying to push an hour earlier, because I find having those early morning hours before the day kicks off to myself and to focus on my my mind and my body and my emotions gives me everything I need to then go and take on the day successfully. So those have been things I've done. I've really, like I said, just seen it as an opportunity instead of getting too caught up in the anxiety of waiting it out.
Awesome, and so necessary. And it's always great to hear how people are sort of finding their way to do this. Stephen, I fell into the bike side of the universe as well. And living in New York, getting a bike is sort of an insane thing to do because, traffic. But when New York is a ghost town, and you don't want to take the subway, all of a sudden, you know what? I think I can go with a bike. And I have to say that, now I'm about at least two times a week. I go for about an hour and a half bike ride, and I just zoom up the West Side Highway and back. And it is just the most relaxing thing for me to do and disconnect from all the things, the devices, because you're on a different pace entirely. So yeah,
that's great.
Amazing.
Cool.
Who would have ever thought? Me and a bike. My gosh. But,
are you a road biker or?
So I got a I have a hybrid Cannondale.
Okay.
So it's got the fat mountain bike-esque tires, but it's a 9-speed, so it can deal with the city's bumps and bubbles. Yeah. But then I can get moving pretty quickly. I think I can get up to 50 miles an hour, if I'm really pushing it. Also, there's hills on different parts of where the parks are here, so you can generate some speed. I didn't even know I was going that fast. Thank you, Strava. That told me I was. But yeah, it's been a new delight and a surprise, and been really good for my self-care to have that kind of open airness of it all.
That's great. Yeah.
And last, but definitely not least question, and I think I know what this answer is going to be, but do you guys have a give and or an ask of the audience?
That is a good question. Don't have a physical give, but we can give some hope about the cannabis industry and the ability for people to start consuming it in a more conscious way. We really see that as a big thing coming down the line for a lot of people, especially now, post-pandemic, as people start integrating, hopefully soon back to some level of normal, trying to take some of these lessons that we've learned and using cannabis as a tool and not a vice. And then just, 2021 is coming. Hopefully things start cleaning up in a way, and we can get back to traveling again and interacting with each other in person. So we're looking forward to that. Steve, do you have anything to add?
I would ask the audience to, be more conscious of your relationship with cannabis, because it can either be a powerful supplement for your lifestyle, whether it's to create additional, to boost your creativity or to help you deal with pain. But in order to use it properly, you really have to be conscious. And wanting and having that awareness in the beginning will lead to better results throughout the rest of your life.
That's great. You guys are just like the nicest cannabis entrepreneurs I've ever met. Like, and just it's interesting. It's just so straightforward. I mean, there's so much noise around cannabis and the things that you can do and the products that are out there. It's just so overwhelming, and it's refreshing to hear from you guys about how you've like taken this really just very much technical, strategic approach to building the best possible product to help enable people to have better lives. And as we are navigating this really unprecedented time, getting to the heart of the matter is key. And so I applaud everything you guys are doing. I can't wait to see how far this goes. And when you guys are officially launched, definitely want to try it out. I may or may not vape. I'm not going to say that on air. Of course I do. Come on, pandemic. But yeah, I'm psyched to see where you guys are going. But thank you guys so much for joining the podcast today.
Yeah, and I will finish off by saying we are doing a holidays pre-order campaign, so we'll be launching that over the coming weeks, and that will be available for the holidays. We will be shipping a limited number of units in 2021. So getting on the pre-orders for the holidays will make sure that you get one of the first units.
And that's on our website, mode.co.
Cool. So we'll throw all the details in the show notes so folks can find out about the pre-order and get those in beforehand so they can try this out, myself included. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so very much. Congratulations on all you've accomplished, and I can't wait to see how far it goes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Great speaking with you.
Likewise. And that is our show.